Hello and welcome to this video about Pandas for data handling. In this video we will teach you how to handle standard or structured query language database files with Pandas and Pandas data frames. These SQL database files are the most common long-term storage for almost any and all types of data. This means that whenever and wherever you work with data, you will sooner or later need to load data and create a Pandas data frame from a SQL database file. Similarly, data science and machine learning applications will often use SQL databases to store data and results for and from algorithms and measurement equipment. This video is not a video about SQL, which is a sizable language, and we do not aspire to teach you the SQL language. But we will show you a standard easy-to-use interface and connection which will enable you to connect to a database file and select a table from a SQL language database file and read the table into a Pandas data frame for use with the Pandas library, or vice versa to store a Pandas data frame to a SQL database file table. In most situations you will find that Pandas may replace almost the entire SQL language and that Pandas has a simpler and nicer vocabulary. This means that Pandas currently may replace the entire SQL language as long as all used files fit into RAM memory and all SQL table files can be loaded into Pandas data frames. And this is a huge bonus with Pandas as compared to many other spreadsheet software. In this video lecture we will use Python's version of the interface SQLite free database engine, which is alleged to be fully compliant with SQLite API 2.0. And this database interface or module is usually included in Python after version 2.5 plus and Anaconda distribution, and is, according to Anaconda's page, a self-contained, high reliability, embedded, full-featured, public domain, standard query language database engine. And it is also the most used database engine in the world, and the developers have pledged to maintain the SQLite engine until 2050. So this is a database engine which has a long guaranteed service life. And should SQLite free not be functioning on your system, the following instructions in the terminal may install it. So we have two potentially useful ways to install SQLite free if it is not installed with your Python and Pandas installation. So now it is time to start up your code editors, because we are going to type some code. Alright, having started our Jupyter Labs notebooks, we will type some C code. And we will begin by recreating or loading our car sales data frame. The code for creating the car sales data frame is attached to the video lecture if you want to cut and paste it rather than typing the code on the screen. After creating the car sales data frame, we'll save it as a database file, copy the data frame to a database table, and restore the data frame from the database. And this is very useful and shows the standard operations for copying data from a database table to a Pandas data frame and vice versa. So we will begin by importing Pandas and SQLite free. We type import Pandas as PD. We import SQLite free. and we create a Pandas data frame, and this code can be cut and pasted. The file attached to the video lecture. And this is our standard car sales data frame, which we create using first a Python dictionary. The Pandas constructor uses the dictionary car data to create the car sales data frame. We rename the index to sales place, and we rename the index labels into string labels. And we print car sales to check that everything has been constructed properly. So let's run this code. And here we can see that we have a proper data frame constructed. Now we'll create a database connection. And we will call it con, and it creates the database and the two SQL function will be used to create a car sales table, which will be an SQL table which will be stored in the database. We type connection equals SQLite 3 connect to car sales DB, which is file type for database. And we will use the car sales to SQL and the car sales table we point at the connection, and if the table exists we will use the replace function. And we close the two SQL function, and we make a note that you can use append instead of replace if you want to append the car sales data frame on every run of this code snippet, rather than replace the same car sales table. And finally, we will delete the car sales data frame. So this code creates a database file and creates a connection to this database file. And we use two SQL function on our car sales data frame to create a car sales table inside this database file. And if we run this code snippet several times, this if exists argument will check up if the car sales table already exists, and if it exists, the replace argument will make sure that the car sales table is dropped and replaced with a new car sales table. And this means that if we rerun this code snippet several times, we will only end up with a new car sales table of the same type every time, as long as the car sales data frame exists and has been run the same way. And should we not want to drop and replace the car sales table but add new tables to the existing tables, we can use append instead of replace. So this is very useful to know. So let's run this code. All right, we will recreate our car sales data frame by loading everything from the car sales table. We type car sales equals pandas read SQL query, and we will use the select instruction, and we will use the star to select everything, and we will select it from the car sales table. And we will use the existing connection like this. And we will print our car sales data frame to check that it has been properly recreated from the database file. So let's run this code. And here we can see that it has been recreated, but with an index column. And we will restore the indexes to the Pandas data frame. We type car sales equals car sales set index sales place. And we can print the car sales data frame. And this simple function set index simply transform this column into an index column. So let's run this code. And here we can see that our original data frame has been recreated. And now you have learned to load and save data between Pandas data frames and standard query language database files. And this is very useful because now you can handle, in principle, any type of data task with your Pandas skills. So you don't have to learn the very complex SQL language, but all the knowledge you will learn about Pandas will be sufficient to handle most of these database queries. And this is very useful. So, in this video, you have learned how to interface with an ordinary standard query language database file and how to move data tables between a database file and a Pandas data frame. And we look forward to see you in the next video.